And now it's time for the interview of an interesting person. Today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Steve Chapman. Steve is the host of Fishing Florida Radio and has been doing radio for over 14 years.
14. Longer than you've been alive, I imagine.
Yep.
Thank you for having me again.
No worries. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
I love it. I can't believe how much energy you have. You are like wound up and just shot out of like a cannon here. You're like running around. Your knees are jumping around. And by the way, I like that you're not wearing the tie today. I like that you've toned it down for us.
Yep. And also, I'm wearing monster jeans today, so not really my normal thing. Because I do
You
wear
look good.
these to school.
I mean, you look good.
On Fridays, I do wear these to school.
Oh, okay, cool. We are cool.
So to jump right in, you have been doing radio a lot longer than I have. Do you still love radio?
Huh. That's a very good question. There are times when I love doing it. There are times when you meet people and you talk to people, and I've been able to introduce to you that it becomes fun. But there's a lot of work behind what we do.
So how did you get the ideas about what you wanted to talk about?
Oh. So a lot of times it's not only just about what's going on fishing related wise in the areas that we broadcast, but it's more just trying to be like a bunch of guys sitting around having fun talking about anything. It's not really the Fishing Florida Radio isn't really meant to be informative. It's meant to be entertaining, where you have fun and we give away a lot of stuff, and we just try to have fun with the whole thing.
So what's the best part about being a fishing radio show host?
Well, when you need to go fishing, it's called show research. So that's the first great thing. Also, it helps that I'm able to meet a lot of people that I have looked up to in the past. Kevin Van Dam and Edwin Evers, and people that I've had on the show I'm now personal friends with, and it's fun to have that relationship and to meet them and to see what they're doing.
So what's the coolest thing you got to do when working as a radio show host?
We have went around the country, well, really East Coast, and covered a lot of bass fishing events, because there really is a lot of money that people make in bass fishing. So because of that, we have been able to go up and down and go to conferences and shows and all sorts of stuff where you get to see people and start conferences and all sorts of stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
The best part about being a radio show host?
I've been able to meet a lot of cool people. A lot of people that I've looked up to in the past. You know, I grew up and I enjoyed fishing growing up. And because the fishing show has evolved into what it is now, I have friends that are professionals that I just love to talk to and to hear their stories.
So what's the coolest thing you got to do when working as a radio show host?
Well, I like see, as a fishing radio show host, the best thing about being a fishing show host is if I have to go fishing, it's not called fishing. It's called show research. And that means I get to get away, take my little boy fishing with me at times, and we go out and have a good time. So I try not to make it work. It's now show research material.
So I see you change your format to include yes. Why?
So at one point in time, the radio show just had a consistency where it was just the same thing week after week. It's really hard to have the same fishing guides call in and talk about fishing when what happened last week is pretty much what happened this week. So it was an idea that I had to introduce a Captain Mike Ortego, who has tackle webs, to come in the show and be with us full time. But it also allowed us to get guests and then hear their stories, because a lot of times it isn't just about getting outside. There's a lot more to just being a fishing person. I mean, it's one of those. It makes the show easier, and hearing other people's stories always is better than hearing the funny things that I do every day.
Huh, that's cool. So, for was the coolest guest you ever had on your show?
Oh, that's a really good question. And one that probably could get me in a lot of trouble, to be honest. However, if you're going to ask it, I'm going to tell it. You probably don't know this person, but he's a massive angler. Massive angler. It's Coach Bobby Knight. He used to be the coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, and he was coach of the Olympic basketball team. And he has a story about Michael Jordan, trying to get Michael Jordan interested in being good, pushing Michael Jordan to the next level while he's playing basketball. And his story about that is one of the best stories I've ever heard in my life. And when I heard it, I stood up and clapped, and I think I might have had a tear come out of my eye because it was that good.
Wow. So, did you get to meet him or her in person?
Of all things, I was at the Bassmaster Classic a couple years ago. He was eating breakfast, and Captain Mike Ortego and I were sitting down eating breakfast together, and Mike said it would be the really cool thing to do would be to go pick up his check for his breakfast. And I did, and then he left. And then Mike ran out and got him, and we talked basketball. And I actually had been years and years ago to one of his basketball clinics when I was your age. So to see him at, a lot older, and to know how much he loves fishing and everything else, it was a dream come true. It's probably the only time that I took a selfie with somebody that I really enjoyed.
Wow. So I remember you going fishing with my neighbor one day. I got to eat 3 fish. Do you eat fish you catch, or are you a sports fisherman?
Another great question. I do not eat fish. I eat shrimp. Everything I catch, I catch and release. I think that's the better way to do it. Now, having said that, there are times when I've been fishing and I've kept the fish. My little boy and my wife really enjoy fish. So sometimes I keep them, but probably 99% of the time, they get back in the water. Somebody else can catch them later on.
You know what shrimp reminds me of.
Nice dance.
When you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up? Did you always know you were going to be a radio show host or a fisherman?
I knew I'd be a fisherman my whole life. My dad took me fishing when I was younger.
Wow.
I knew that was it. But when I was younger, I played baseball and basketball, and I golfed. So I thought that was where my life was going to go to. But I've always been fishing from probably 2 or 3 years old to my little boy Thomas and I just were fishing this on Saturday together. So I've always known I'm going to fish because I call it, you need to get off your iPads and into the lily pads. God created it, so we might as well be out there and enjoy it.
That is a good pun. So what is the hardest part about being a fishing radio show host?
It's the amount of time that you put in to make the show sound good. Like you guys know, it's hard to do a lot of things, and there's really not a lot of time. You need to keep up with people, and there's a lot of people don't like anglers. I mean, we get a hard knock every now and then. The people have their own opinions on what, if you should fish or if you shouldn't fish, if it hurts the fish, if it doesn't. But you got to do what you enjoy. That's one thing in life.
So what is an angler?
So an angler to me is someone who goes out there and respects the fishing. Someone who respects what God created for us. Someone that goes out there and picks up after themselves. That goes out there and tries to make the fishing better for the next person who's going to go fishing. That is something that most people don't do. A lot of people go out there and throw their trash down. I go fishing at this one place, and I walk around the lake once a month, and I pick up all the trash around it. And that's only for my benefit, because I don't want to see it when I fish. So I think a real angler enjoys what they do, is responsible for the fishing, and tries to make it better for the next person.
So if you can ensure that one particular person listens to your show, who would it be?
Oh, wow. I might need to read that question. The person that's a really good question, Tiberius. The person I want to listen to the show is someone who's just going to enjoy and not take offense to some of the things we say. It's meant to be an entertaining show. Someone who's willing to laugh and participate and be part of what we find funny, and that's it. You don't have to be a fisherman or an angler to enjoy Fishing Florida Radio. You just need to be someone that is willing to laugh and enjoy our stupidity.
Stupidity?
Yes.
More like I have stupidity too. Oh, promise me, I would definitely want to be on the show.
You can come in.
Okay. So, now my dad and I, what you call endorsement. I do bowling, video games, board games, a radio show, and lots of things indoors. What would you tell me to do so that we can attempt to do more outdoor things?
So, because we're in Florida, in Central Florida, there's a few great things about Central Florida that most people don't know. We have what they call the Fab Five Lakes. Orlando stocks these ponds so that the fishing is exceptional fishing. They put bluegill in, they put all sorts of little fish in. So there's and even retention ponds in where you live or on the side of the road generally have fish in them. So I would say just doing that. The second thing is because I know that you should go fishing. And I, by the way, I would love for you guys to come over with us, with Thomas and I one day, and go fishing with us. And you can learn from Thomas himself. That's my little boy. But we brought you a rod today, and we brought you. Now this is don't mind this box, but I made Thomas go through. I have a wall full of lures, and I mean thousands and thousands of lures. I let Thomas go through and pick out some stuff that we thought would be really cool for you to have. Now, I need to remind you, they have hooks. So they do hurt. They have sharp hooks, okay? So here's the rod. This is from Castaway Rods. So this is like a starter rod. Castaway Rods. They're a sponsor of mine, and they'd love for you to use this and to get out there and learn how to fish. But then in this box, you're welcome. So Thomas loves frog fishing. This is my little boy Thomas. He loves frog fishing. So we thought we needed to give you a frog to start off with. So then there's also some little swim baits. These are what these called. Some other swim baits. These are great for bass. These are storm lures from bass. So you can put one of these on and just run it. But there's all sorts of stuff. There's this yappa bug that looks like a cicada. Thought that would be cool for you. But Thomas really wanted you to have this beast of a lure that looks just like literally like a live bluegill. And quite honestly, if you go fishing with us, this is what you're going to use. You're going to use something just like this. Because Thomas got one the other day that was 8 pounds and 8.76 pounds. Almost 9-pound bass. And it was on this. Wow. He also outfished me on Saturday, too. I should say that. So, here's some stuff for you. Oh, put this in there. Here's some stuff from you, from Thomas and I and the radio show.
Whoa,
so there you go, dude.
That is cool. So, thank you for giving me this gift, and say thank you to Castaway Rods and also Monster Bass.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. You got to use it, though. You know that. You have to use it. You have to use it.
When I come over there, I might be using this rod.
Well, if you do that, Thomas has his old trusty. He'll probably help you with his rod and get you going.
So, what's the first job you ever had?
Oh my gosh. Now we're gonna have to go back in the. So when I was just probably a couple years older than you. I lived in Michigan. Until I was like 12 or 13 years old. And I think at 10 years old, the first job I ever had was I lived in Howell, Michigan, and they had a melon festival once a year. And the melons in Howell have a different taste to them. and I would go over to a farm, because we all lived on farms, and I would pick melons for the whole day so that I could take 2 melons home with me, and the guy would give me $5, and I'd work for 8 hours for 2 melons for my dad, because I don't like melon, and the $5. And I would use the $5 so I could buy worms to go fishing.
Wow. So, was there anything you learned from that job to help you be a better radio show host?
Well, it's helped me with in fishing, because when I was younger like that, learning how to fish really slow and with different things helped me to where I am now with the radio show. So kinda. I don't know if it helped. I don't think picking melons helped me do anything in life, except get fatter.
Okay. So if my listeners wanted to go to be a radio show host, what advice would you give them? And me.
And you. Well, I think you're doing a pretty good job to start off with. Okay. I think that in radio you have to keep things entertaining and upbeat, and I think that's the hardest thing most people don't do. Don't do well enough. You also, if you want to be on the radio, you need to be able to tell a story. That's the most important thing. People these days are so on their phones and texting that you don't give enough details on how something went about, and you need to just tell a story properly.
Okay. So what's the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the radio. You probably will have to edit this out. But when I was younger, I had friends, and we had a rough night. I'm trying to really edit myself here. We had a rough night, and we were only 14 or 15 years old. And we stayed up really late, and we did some things we shouldn't have done. And then my father got me up at 6 a.m. and made me go to a 3-hour swimming workout session. And since then, I don't drink because of it.
Oh, my teacher says that I use math every day when I grow up. Do you use math as a radio show host?
No, I don't. That one's brutally honest. No, I don't use, well, you might use it to invoice people and things like that, but in terms of the radio show, the only thing I need to remember is how many fish I catch, and I can do that on my fingers. Good question, though.
So when you're not working, what do you do for fun?
Well, I go fishing, of course. My son and I have a ritual on Sundays that we do what we call Daddy Bubba Day, where it's just he and I, and we go do something together. Now, sometimes it's fishing, but sometimes it's going to car shows, or we go do all sorts of stuff. So really, if I'm not doing fishing stuff, I'm doing something for YouTube, or I'm most of the time spending time with my family.
Wow. So I get to spend time with my dad doing this radio show. Kind of like how you do fishing with your son. What is the best part about fishing with your son?
There's nothing that brings me more joy than watching him catch fish. It is something that he as he sits here, he will never know how proud I am of his casting ability, that he's able to fish a worm as well as I fish a worm, and it makes me emotional, and I tear up, and I just am unbelievably proud of how well he already fishes at 9 years old.
Whoa. That's making me emotional now. Okay. So do you play video games? What's your favorite one?
I don't play video games. I have unfortunately sometimes go into Fortnite, and then it's Thomas. I play on Fortnite on one device, and Thomas plays on the other one, and then it's one versus one, V versus whatever you want to say, mano y mano, and I can never find out how to shoot the gun. I can't jump. I can't open a door. I can't do anything. And the next thing I know, I'm getting no-scoped from 62 miles away and dying, and then they resurrect me. And it makes me mentally crazy because I can't figure out how to shoot the gun. And he won't tell me. It's not even fair.
Well, maybe if I get one Fortnite today, and maybe I can 1v1 him.
Yes. You want to know? He's allowed to play it on the way. I'll give him my phone on the way home.
So what is your favorite book?
Favorite book. So I have read a lot of books on...
That do with fishing?
On fishing, yes. I really have. And you want to know what? I've read a lot of books on how to read people's expressions for poker. So my favorite book, and I've read, some Stephen King stuff and things like that, but really it probably would come down to probably some fishing book. I don't even know which one. There's so many of them. My buddy Ron Presley did one a couple years ago, and it was phenomenal. It was just about fishing in Florida, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe it.
Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
So I went fishing years ago, and I got in the boat, and I decided I was going to go. It was going to be what I called a blast and cast. I brought my shotgun out with me, and I was going to go snipe hunting to start off with, and I was going to go fishing for shad in the afterwards. And I was out going snipe hunting, and I got bit by a rattlesnake. And when it bit me, I had snake boots on, but when it bit me, it hit me so hard on the back of the leg it made me fall down. And I took down my boots and looked to see if it penetrated the skin, and it didn't. But in my head, I thought it did. And I got lost, and I couldn't find my boat, and then I went kind of like mentally crazy for about 2 hours, where I was worried that I was going to be in trouble. I finally found my boat, and then I went to get out of to put my boat on the trailer, and I forgot to tie it up, and the boat drifted. So I had to strip down into my underwear, jump into the water in the middle of the winter, and swim after it. And it was not a very good day, and very embarrassing, to be honest.
Huh. Did your son see that?
No, but some woman saw it, and she was laughing at me.
Is there anything I should think my listeners should know about you?
No, you've covered a lot. You've done very well, Tiberius. You've done very well.
So do you have a website or Facebook for my listeners to follow you?
So I have, the website is fishingfloridaradio.com. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/fishingflorida, and we have a YouTube channel that we've been working on for about 6 or 7 months, where we put out a couple videos every week. Some about me fishing, some about Thomas and I, some about lures, and that's youtube.com/fishingfloridaradio.
Okay. If you could teach me one thing that's really stuck, what would it be?
I would take you fishing. I would teach you that if you can catch a fish, you can feed yourself. And if you can enjoy what God created and respect it and cherish it, you'll enjoy your life a lot better. It also will keep you off your iPads and into the lily pads. That's what you need to do. Because it isn't all about just playing games all day. You know that. You need to get outside. We're going to make this you're going to be an outdoorsman in the next year.
Oh. No, I'm not. So what's the one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
I don't think you forgot to ask anything. You did a great job, dude. You did a great job. You're better at this than I am. Do you know that? You're better at this than I am, and I've been doing it for 14 years.
I thought you were. I thought 14 years.
No, you're... For 8 years old, dude, you're killing it, man.
But I've already done it for 1 year.
still. You're 8 years old.
Thank you, Steve, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for math corners?
Sure.